Good night. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be before you today to share my personal experience of growing up with type 1 diabetes. I would like to thank the Heart and Stroke Foundation for the invitation and commend them for all the work that they have done over the years in regards to these conditions. Over the next few minutes, I will take you through the past and the present and share my personal feelings with you. And I hope that by the end of this speech, you will get some idea of all of my struggles and my joys. And I hope that this information will help benefit your lives in some way. My story. My childhood until the age of 11 was a typical one. I loved to play outdoors, dance, and was very artistic. And just like any other child at that age, I had not one care in the world. Things all began to change the year before I sat the 11+ examinations. I began to get very listless, tired, had extreme thirst, frequent urination, and gradually lost a lot of weight. My performance in school declined. I barely managed to pass my 11+ exams, and I was no longer excelling at my physical activities. Initially, everyone around me thought I was just a lazy child. All I wanted to do was sleep, and I had no interest in school or sports. But as the months went on, it was clear that something more serious was wrong. My symptoms got so severe that in the weeks before I was diagnosed, in order to quench my thirst, in the middle of the night I would bring all of the water bottles from the fridge to the side of my bed. And when those ran out, I began to drink from the tap. I eventually was diagnosed on January 18th, 1998. I will never forget this day, and I'm sure my family feels the same. This was the day that every symptom began to make sense. This was the day I was no longer just a lazy child. This was the day I became an adult. I no longer could live life completely carefree. From the moment we heard, "I'm sorry, but your daughter has type 1 diabetes," life changed for good. After I was diagnosed, I was educated about my daily health routine. My medication. I was on 4 insulin injections daily from the get-go. 1 injection at every meal to cover what I was eating, and 1 additional injection in the morning with longer-acting insulin to cover me throughout the day. Now, I no longer inject. Instead, I wear an insulin pump on my arm, back, or stomach. This device constantly provides me with insulin throughout the day and comes with a remote that looks similar to a BlackBerry that controls its every operation. Testing my blood sugar. I do this at a minimum of 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, with additional checks when necessary. These 2 aspects of my life, regardless of the stinging sensations, the occasional black and blues, and the not being able to learn to play the guitar as my fingers were too sore, I have to admit were the easiest adjustments for me. The burdens and struggles of being a diabetic are a lot more than just the physical pain. What many people often ignore are the psychological and emotional issues associated with a chronic condition like mine. Eating right. After I was diagnosed, I visited a dietitian who educated me about the best foods to eat. Foods high in sugars, fats, and oils were my worst enemy. And as a child, this was the brunt of my diabetic frustrations. Imagine going to a birthday party and not being able to eat a slice of cake. I couldn't understand why this would happen to me. What did I do in my first 10 years of life that none of my other friends did? Was I a bad child? And was I being punished in some way? And to make it worse, some of my childhood acquaintances teased me and waved candy bars in my face. Nowadays, I count every carbohydrate or gram of sugar I eat, every mint, slice of bread, sip of juice needs to be counted perfectly. It seems like not a moment in the day am I not thinking about my disease. I wonder what it's like to see a meal without seeing numbers. As an adult, I will admit, eating right is not always easy, especially when you're busy and on the go. And the crazy cravings for something sweet don't help either. Exercise. As I mentioned before, I was an extremely active child. After I was diagnosed, my physical activity continued, and I used to dance and take part in track and field multiple times a week. Even though this helped me manage my sugars, at times it was not easy. Extensive physical activity often caused my blood sugar to drop, thus preventing me from exercising at all. How was I supposed to cope? This added to my frustrations. At times, diabetes prevented me from living life to the fullest. My professional life. For many years, I struggled to stay on top of schoolwork and manage a disease which is almost like having a full-time job. That's the thing about having a chronic disease. Life does not wait or give you an easier path to follow because of it. When you step out into the world of work or school, you are judged equally. At school, often teachers and classmates who didn't understand thought I was faking. How could a child go from being so weak and listless they could hardly stand to running around on a playground in 15 minutes? How was I supposed to feel normal if people all around me pointed fingers and judged? At work, during business meetings and interviews, I often find people distracted by my insulin pump. Are they even hearing what I have to say? My personal life. At home, I often felt like I would compare myself to my other family members, and especially my younger sister, Kayla. Why me? Why did diabetes pick me? This often led to lower self-esteem and sometimes even depression. And to my sister, I know on her end, it left her feeling abandoned. My struggles often took away from the attention she needed growing up. Bedtime. Many nights I had fear of sleeping. My blood sugar would often drop so low that I would wake up in cold sweats and shakes. The one thing in life that is supposed to be easy, sleep. Why is this also an issue? Finances. Am I a burden to my family? Am I too much of an expense? How people see me. When people look at me, do they see someone different? Because I surely feel different. My future. Living in a region that boasts some of the highest rates of amputations and other diabetes-related complications is honestly not easy. I am constantly reminded of the possibility of a future without sight, the ability to walk, with kidney failure and a host of other problems. Yes, I do everything I can to make sure I take care of myself, but I can't help but think, would that be my future as well? Will I be able to have a healthy pregnancy? Or will I even pass this on to my kids? So why have I decided to stand before you today and share all of my struggles with you? As you should know, type 1 diabetes is not a lifestyle-related disease. There was nothing I did as a child to cause my pancreas to stop working. It basically just happened. Some doctors say it is as a result of a flu-like virus that I may have had which attacked the organ. As a result, I produce no insulin at all. So I have to put insulin back into my body so that my body can use and store the sugar from the food that I eat. However, there is another kind of diabetes. The more common form of diabetes is type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes comprises of 90% of people with diabetes from around the world and is largely the result of poor diet choices and physical inactivity. In 2012, The World Health Organization stated that there were 347 million people worldwide with diabetes, an estimated 40,000 of which live right here in Barbados. And having diabetes increases your chances for developing heart disease or having a stroke. I wasn't lucky. I didn't have a choice with my diabetes. My body basically decided for me. So, this is my plea to you. You do have a choice to prevent type 2 diabetes. Eat healthy and exercise. Do things that you love, whether it be dance, Zumba, Pilates, the walk-up workout, yoga, or spin. Get active. I don't wish this burden on anyone or any family. So make the right choice today. And for those few people who may be out there like me, with a chronic illness they could not prevent, yes, it is not easy. Yes, you feel like it consumes your whole life. Yes, you feel different. Yes, some days you may want to give up. Trust me, I know. But we can't give up. We need to do what we can to ensure that we have as full of a life as possible. I have chosen not to let my diabetes hold me down or push me in a corner. Instead, I stand before you a strong young woman looking forward to my future. I have learned so much from this disease, and it has shaped me into the person I am today. So stand up, Barbados. It's time for change. Thank you.